Surely we belong to God, and to him we shall return. The Holy Quran. Chapter 12. Bereavements. Introduction. During his adult life, Hadrat Sahib witnessed the death of numerous dear family members and Sangis. He had immense love for those people and often mentioned them in his discourses. One could sense the pain in his voice and body language, yet he never complained. He wholeheartedly accepted God's decree. When our Prophet passed away, many of his companions were greatly saddened, and most of them, including Umar ibn al-Khattab and Ali ibn Talib, the Prophet's cousin and fourth Caliph of Islam, found it extremely difficult to keep their composure. They had just lost the best of creation and the most beloved person to them. Umar ibn al-Khattab, who was the symbol of courage and justice, was badly affected and shouted, "The Messenger of God did not die. He is alive. He is struck by lightning like Moses. If anyone says, 'Muhammad died,' I will split him into two with my sword." However, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the Prophet's close companion and great ancestor of Hadrat Sahib, maintained his composure and managed to soothe and reassure the Muslim community, bringing everyone back to their senses. After seeing the luminous face of the Prophet, moments after he passed away, Abu Bakr al-Siddiq uttered these words, "O Messenger of God, your death is as clean and graceful as your life." He then consoled the household of the Prophet before coming out and going to the mosque, where he heard what Umar ibn al-Khattab said. In a moving speech he said, "Whoever worships Muhammad should know that Muhammad died. Whoever worships God should know that God is Hay, that means ever living." Abu Bakr as-Siddiq ensured that the people's focus remains on God, and they understood that death is certain for everyone and has been decreed by God. He fulfilled a great service and duty by reminding the companions about this. Hadrat Sahib followed in the footsteps of his great ancestor Abu Bakr al-Siddiq and his father Qibla Alam. Upon hearing the news of someone's death, he would often say, "Whether it is a prophet or a saint, the time of death is appointed by God." He would recite the Holy Quran and make the remembrance of God on behalf of the deceased. He encouraged the Sangis to do charitable acts for their deceased relatives, especially parents. Hadrat Sahib effectively trained his Sangis to deal with the loss of dear ones, as in Hadrat Sahib's view, the reality of death was, we are all helpless before God. No one can alter or postpone his decree. There is nothing but submission and acceptance of his will. Every incident is known to God before it occurs. When the incident takes place, it is termed as an accident or illness. He continued, "Only God, who gave the pain, can grant the cure." Qibla Mai Sahiba, Part 2. Hadrat Sahib's mother, Qibla Mai Sahiba, was the central figure in his life. She was a source of inspiration for Hadrat Sahib and thousands of Sangis, both male and female. With commitment and utmost devotion, she carried out Qibla Alam's instructions to her dying breath. During her final moments, a group of Sangis arrived who had come to seek her blessings en route back to England. After the meeting, Qibla Mai Sahiba's condition deteriorated before falling unconscious. When she regained her consciousness later that night, the very first thing she asked was, "Have you given tea and sweets to the guests?" Just like Qibla Alam, her sole concern was for the Sangis. Qibla Mai Sahiba loved the students and always treated them with kindness and affection. A student relates, "During my studies at Jhelum, when I was memorizing the Quran, Qibla Mai Sahiba showed more love to me than my mother. I was also sent to school in the city. Before I would leave for school in the morning, Qibla Mai Sahiba would make me sit near her and feed me. She looked after my well-being in every way. She even bought me a bicycle." One day, a female guest came with some fruit and presented it to Qibla Mai Sahiba, who said, "We are not in need of these things. We are only interested in items that can benefit the students. The students are dearer to us than our children because they left their homes and parents to come and study with us. We must protect and take care of them." On the 10th of January 1985, the most influential person in Hadrat Sahib's life, his beloved mother, passed away. He states that although his father died over 50 years prior, due to his mother's affection, he never felt like an orphan. Hadrat Sahib sighed and said, "Now, with her death, I do feel like an orphan." He stated she was the key to our success. For example, whenever Hadrat Sahib wanted to build a mosque, he would have the foundation stone blessed by his mother, and divine help would come, and the work would be completed in a short time. Hadrat Sahib once travelled from Jhelum to Gulha Sharif and recalled that Qibla Mai Sahiba had a difficult life and faced numerous obstacles. Saying this, tears began to flow from his eyes. Only a few moments passed, and he smiled and said, "Yes, of course, she faced hardship in early life, but in later life she had every comfort at her disposal." She was finally laid to rest in Kanka al-Sultaniya, Jhelum. On the demise of Asangi's mother, Hadrat Sahib wrote to him, "I became aware of your mother's demise, and I am deeply saddened by her loss. Everything shall perish, and only God shall remain forever. There is no option other than to be patient. May God grant the deceased a place in paradise, and grant abundant patience to the grieving family. Indeed, you have been deprived of a great blessing. Islam gives a special rank to a mother, as heaven lies beneath her feet. Fortunate are those children who have obeyed and served their mothers." Mai Sahiba Gulha, Part 2. Mai Sahiba, the second wife of Hadrat Sahib, oversaw the cooking and cleaning of the mosques. Over the period of 26 years, she built a massive following amongst the women. Thousands of women from both Kashmir and abroad sought her guidance. Observing the busy schedule of Mai Sahiba, Hadrat Sahib once remarked to her, "This humble servant was not in favour of such a mass movement." Mai Sahiba replied, "We do not send any invitations. God sends these people, and this is a test of our sincerity. Please pray God grants us success." On a daily basis, she dealt with hundreds of female guests, listened to their problems, and offered help and guidance. She wore a niqab her entire adult life, and she encouraged women to observe the hijab and to lead a pious life. She had many female students who were taught the basic tenets of faith. Additionally, she provided a sanctuary for the homeless and disabled women and girls. She was very steadfast, organised, and performed numerous duties such as supervising the kitchen, where food was prepared for hundreds of guests. She would make tea, carry trays or baskets of food and fruit to Hadrat Sahib's room, which were then distributed to the guests. She was very kind towards Hadrat Sahib's children and grandchildren. During her married life, she loved and expressed great devotion to Hadrat Sahib. For example, Hadrat Sahib slept on the balcony directly above her, and during the winter he had to move indoors. She was happy to know that Hadrat Sahib was in a more comfortable room, but stated that when Hadrat Sahib walked on the balcony she could hear his footsteps, and that was an excellent source of comfort for her. When Hadrat Sahib found out how she felt, he moved back to the balcony the following night. Such was the love and devotion between husband and wife. Mai Sahiba passed away on Saturday the 23rd of January 1993. Her wish was to be washed and buried in the privacy of a few family members. Hadrat Sahib respected her wishes, and her funeral was not held in public but her room, and she was laid to rest in the women's quarter of the mosque. With her demise, Hadrat Sahib lost not only a beloved wife but also a great helper on the spiritual path. She had taken a significant burden off Hadrat Sahib's shoulders and impeccably managed the affairs of Dargah Sharif. The demise of Sheikh Zayed. Shah Abul Hassan Zaid Faruqi was a dear friend of Hadrat Sahib. Between 1974 and 1992 he visited Hadrat Sahib on 5 occasions. Sheikh Zayed said, "I have no interest in any mosque nor any devotees. I shall only visit Hadrat Sahib. He loves me and I love him. That is why I want to visit him." When a relative of Sheikh Zayed died, Hadrat Sahib wrote to him, "Truly to God we belong, and truly to him we shall return." From the Holy Quran. We are deeply saddened by this news. Undoubtedly the time for death is appointed, and it cannot be postponed or moved forward. To reach his ultimate destination, a believer must pass through this path. A human being is comprised of emotions, and sadness is a natural outcome. Without a doubt, one is affected by these events. In the spiritual path, we are the beneficiaries of this noble family, and as such, every member of this household is a beacon of light for us. With his death, another lamp has been extinguished. We pray that God grants him a place in his nearness. May God choose his descendants to serve the religion and guide people. We all share in your grief. When Hadrat Sahib learned that Sheikh Zayed had a stroke, he was distraught. He wanted to send 2 Sanghis to Delhi in India to take care of him. The 2 Sanghis had applied for the visa. However, before the matter was finalised, the news of his death arrived. Sheikh Zayed passed away on the 2nd of December 1993 and was buried next to his noble father. Following his death, Hadrat Sahib regularly mentioned him in his conversations. Death of first wife. In 1996, Hadrat Sahib's first wife passed away in Jhelum. They had been married for 58 years and she had 4 children. She was a very patient and pious person. When Hadrat Sahib remarried in 1966, she did not rebel, but chose to carry out her duties until her dying breath. Although she kept a low profile, she had a strong character and was a loving wife, mother and grandmother. Hadrat Sahib wrote a letter to a friend on the death of his wife. This letter beautifully describes the husband-wife relationship and perhaps expresses Hadrat Sahib's feelings for his first wife. Hadrat Sahib wrote, "I pondered on how to address you on this critical occasion. What words of comfort can I offer you during these sad moments? Suddenly you are separated from your partner of 60 years, and you laid to rest 60 years of memories with her. This is a special moment in one's life. God has placed a secret in the marital relationship. It is the basis of a peaceful environment at home. Nothing can replace that intimacy, even if one has every other comfort. The noble lady's piety and organisational qualities afforded you the ease and comfort throughout your life. You could dedicate your time to your work, and to lose someone of that calibre at this stage of your life is indeed a great test. Indeed, your productive activities shall suffer alongside you, as you shall constantly remember the long time you spent together." The tragic death of a student. During the 1990s, Hadrat Sahib lost many beloved people, but none more tragic than the death of a young student. On the 27th of June 1992, Imran, a student in a Kotli mosque, woke up and found a snake curled around his arm. The snake had bitten him in his sleep. Upon waking, he threw the snake away and made ablution to offer morning prayers. When his teacher was informed, he immediately had him taken to the Kotli district hospital, where he later died. His body was brought to Dasgah Sharif, and the Sanghis wept at his tragic death. Hadrat Sahib was overcome with grief and could not bear to look at his innocent face. 2 days later, Hadrat Sahib tried to talk about Imran's death, but he broke down, unable to utter a word. When he finally spoke, he commented, "The circumstances in which the boy died are heartbreaking. His young age, innocence, intelligence, desire for knowledge, and the truth. This incident had a severe impact on my senses. I try to console myself, but every time I think of him, I cannot stop crying." Hadrat Sahib wrote to a Sanghi on the death of his son. "This humble servant feels words are inadequate to express his condolences to a Sanghi over this loss. Indeed, the bitterness of this tragedy shall stay with you for the rest of your life. Only God, who gave the pain, can grant the cure." Despite the feelings of sorrow at the deaths of such dear people, Hadrat Sahib was content and wholeheartedly accepted God's decree. His pain of separation never altered or hindered his divine mission to bring guidance to people and help foster relationships based on the love of God.